Hey everyone, Alan here, getting back to what I talk about best, safety, self-defense, active shooter response. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about active shooter response, about knowing your exits. So let's give a couple seconds here, see if we get a few people joining. Remember, go to surviveanddefend.com and sign up for the weekly newsletter, the Sunday safety and self-defense tips. You can get a free ebook, 25 safety and self-defense tips, immediately downloaded. You'll get some bonus lessons through email, and you'll also get the Sunday safety and self-defense emails every week. For specific information about active shooter response, go to surviveashooting.com. Take the self-assessment. It's 50 questions to ask yourself or ask your organization to determine if you're prepared or not. So go to those websites and use those resources and let me know if there's something else I can do for you or your organization. Got a couple people joining. It's good to see them. Hey, Mark, Andy. Thank you, Mark. Afternoon to you. You know, I'm doing it a little earlier today because I teach Hop Keto a little bit later tonight. So I'm doing this, then eat dinner, then go teach later tonight. But I wanted to talk about knowing your exits. And people have heard me talk about this before, but I was writing a little sidebar about a new incident, not real new, it was 2003, but new for my book. And I wanted to talk about that tonight. It is so important to know your exits. And one of the reasons that I like using escape in my model, you know, escape, deny access, attack back, versus the run, hide, fight, is because I want that mindset of escaping the danger, not just running. People run, and they might be running the wrong way. I want thinking escape is rather than just run. And that's why I like escape. And to escape, you need to know your exits. And, you know, the thing I was putting in the sidebar of the book today was the Station Nightclub fire. You know, that was back Thursday, February 20th, 2003. For those that remember that, happened in West Warwick, Rhode Island. And it was, you know, the Great White. Jack Russell's Great White was the lead act there. And the fire was started by the pyrotechnics there of the band. You know, there's lawsuits and different things happen because of this. But what's important for me and for this lesson, there were 100 people killed in that fire out of approximately 462 or so people that were there, which exceeded the fire codes. But out of those 460 some people, at least half or more ran toward the door they came in. Okay? And the door was not big enough. And in the hallway, they got congested and people couldn't get out. You know, out of, you know, what, 230 some or whatever, about half, you know, they're not exactly sure, but only 127 made it out that front door. Others made it out a different room that had its own exit. Some made it out by the door that was by the stage. And 19 made it out the kitchen door. 19. That door was not congested. People didn't even go toward that door. So out of the 100 that were killed and the 230 that had injuries, you know, I believe more could have survived if they would have known about that kitchen exit and went toward that exit instead. Said, you know, from the research and the interviews and stuff they did afterwards, they said about 19 went out that kitchen door. But here's something that I found, you know, very important, and why I decided to put this in the sidebar of the chapter when I talked about awareness and knowing your exits. And this is from Careful by Steve Kasner. And he talks about a couple people that did go out that door. He said they both used the kitchen door and brought others with them. The sound man was later quoted as saying, "This is the exit to use if someone pulls out a gun and starts shooting, or if there's a fire in this building. I know this is an exit that's going to be accessible because it's unknown." And so that's the key right there. But there were signs, because a couple people of those 19, they saw the signs that said there was an exit through the kitchen. But most people ignore those. And those exits go unknown, unnoticed, unused. And in an emergency, you need to know these kind of things. So it's so important to pay attention to our surroundings. And people say, yeah, be aware. Everybody says be aware. Be aware of what? Well, one of the most important things you can be aware of are the exits or your escape routes. How are you going to get out of an area that you're in if something bad happens? And it can be an area, it can be a stadium, it can be a building. But I want you to know how to get out. And I forgot about it when I thought about doing this earlier. I was going to queue up the DVD on my computer and play that scene from Ronin. There's that scene close to the beginning. Robert De Niro goes into the little cafe, and then they go out the back door to get in the van and go learn about that mission they're going to do in that movie. But when he goes out the back door, he reaches behind the crates where he hid his gun and takes his gun back out. And Deirdre, the female lead in that, she sort of looks at him, and he looks back at her and says, "Lady, I don't go into any place I don't know the way out of." But that is the perfect example, and that's the kind of mindset I want you to have. Don't go into any place you don't know the way out of. See, a lot of people joining, leaving, coming back, going on. Please put questions, comments in. If you have comments, questions, remember, if there's something you want me to talk about, put it in the comment. The one that I did about wheelchairs was because of Eric's comment asking me about wheelchairs last week. And so I did a special one for that, answering that question. But tonight it's about exits. Most people, just like they did in this fire, they want to go back out the way they came in. And that's not always the best, as in that fire showed. Out of way over 200 people trying to get out that exit, only 127 of them made it. Now, some of those people that first went to that first door, they did make it out the other exit. They went back in, but a lot of them didn't. A lot of them had injuries because of the being crushed into that hallway trying to get out the way they came in. If you can look for alternative ways, you're going to be safer and often get out quicker and less chance of being trampled. I often use malls as an example, and there's a video on Facebook of me in a mall, where people think the main ways out are the ways they came in. And that's not always the case. Often the nearest exit's going to be through the nearest store, because all those stores have exits in the back. Nobody uses them. They're for employees only. But in an emergency, an active shooter situation, a fire, where you need to get out quick, that's going to be your best bet. Straight through that store and out the back exit that's for employees only. So make sure you recognize these. And when you're out and about, make it a game to start looking at where are the exits. How would I get out of here if I had to? And then you'll just start noticing them whenever you're out and about, and it just becomes second nature. And it's not that you're paranoid, it's just, I don't like to go into a place I don't know the way out of. When I tell the example too, when I'm at amusement parks, whether it was Disneyland or Universal Studios, there's emergency exits all over the place. And most people don't see them or recognize them. And I guarantee if something bad happened and you needed to get out of that amusement park quickly, those emergency exits would not be as congested as the main entrances and exits that everybody's used to going in and out of. Because people, if they haven't thought about it, the default is go back where you came in. If you think about it, and you have this plan of I'm going to go out the nearest and best exit to escape to safety, and you recognize those places, that's where you'll go. But you got to think about it and plan about it beforehand, because when you're scared and you haven't thought about it first, you're going to default and go where everybody else is going. Mark says, one of the things I've run into when teaching the kids about active shooters in schools is the wrong mindset of the staff that wants to shelter in a place that's vulnerable. I've always walked my children. Right. I mean, and sheltering in place, and and I don't like to call it shelter in place. I like to call it denying access or barricading, locking the bad guy out. That is a good strategy if you're in a place that can barricade and lock the place out. But the hiding and hoping that a lot of people, that's their plan, that's not a plan. Hiding and hoping is not a plan. And even when you barricade, you don't stop there. You prepare to either escape out of a different way out. That can be a window or a different door, whatever. Or you prepare to fight if they breach your barricade and attack back. Never hide and hope. But that's true. And I couldn't see the very end of your comment, Mark, after I've always walked my children's, I'm guessing it says school, but it cuts off there. So I didn't see the very end of that. But it's true that the mindset of just sheltering in place and not doing anything proactive to increase your survivability, I don't like that either. And that's why I teach the courses I do. When I'm out there teaching those courses, we're changing people's mindset, getting a plan of the things they can do to survive. And I know you do some of the same stuff. How have you changed the minds of administration? Mark asks. Fortunately, the superintendent of the school system here in Missoula got on board with seeing the training and then sent principals, and teachers started going, and it was sort of the word of mouth that everybody realized that, wow, this stuff is important and there's things we can do. One principal, and he's out of the school system, school district, he came and went through a class. He went back to his school, reinforced all their lock mechanisms, bought fire extinguishers for every classroom, bought trauma aid for the school so they'd have tourniquets and such, and then asked us to come out and teach his entire staff, and he made it mandatory for everybody to show up. And he had some discretionary income to do that where he was at in that school. But some of it's just getting out and showing the administrators what's out there. In Virginia, where I'm going to be teaching in a couple months, they had a person that strongly recommended, their security person convinced them, and then they went to their board members and said, let's do this for our employees. They brought me out, and the board members, some of them went to the class. At the end of the day, the board had already approved for me to go back for follow-up training 6 months later, and that's what I'll be doing. But there's still a lot out there that have their head stuck in the sand. And I don't know how to get to some of those people, Mark. I've had people write me and say, my job with their active shooter plan is they told us to watch the Run, Hide, Fight video, the 6-minute video on YouTube. That's their plan. And I wrote back and said, well, that's a good start, I guess. But do you really think a 6-minute video is equivalent to a 4 or an 8-hour class? Not hardly. It's not. But getting through to some of those people, I don't know how. If something terrible happens and then they're going to have lawsuits against them, that'll get through to them, but then it's a little late. Sandy Hook School and administrators, their lawsuits were filed against them for not having adequate preparation to prevent something like happened in Sandy Hook. If other shootings happen, more lawsuits will happen. Then insurance companies are going to be paying out a bunch of money. Then maybe the insurance companies will force the administrators to get on board and do something about it. I don't know. I don't know how to get through to some of those people, Mark. I think we're very fortunate here in Missoula, and it's sort of unique to have the school administrators, the university administrators, the sheriff's department, the Missoula Police Department, the University of Montana Police Department all work together to bring this training to the school systems and university system. And we've probably trained close to 4,000 or more people in this community over the last 3.5, 4 years. So that's pretty unique to have all those entities working together. And we actually had more entities than that, because we had people from the feds out at the Hamilton labs. We had police officers there. We had people from the fire department. We had people from the hospital, one of the hospitals, and we trained a bunch of hospital personnel. So we had a lot of different people come together in this community to try to make the community more safe. Don't know a lot of communities that do that. So we're fortunate. Other administrators outside of Missoula, I'm having trouble getting through to some of them too, just like you are. And if you find an answer, let me know too, so we can get to more people. Saw some other people joining. Any other questions or comments? You know, I was talking about, you know, knowing your exits, but then we got off a little bit on how do we get through to administrators and such, to let them know that this is an important topic and that preparation, planning, and training are important. If you have anything or you have a comment or suggestion, you know, let us know in the comments. But this station nightclub fire that I was writing the sidebar for the book today is just a perfect example of why knowing your exits is so important. You know, people died in that fire because they ran toward the front door that they came in instead of one of the alternate doors that had less traffic that they possibly could have gotten out, and reduced that number of 100 dying and 230 injured. And some of those injured were, they got out, but they were injured getting out because it was so crowded toward that front door. So I really don't have much else to say on that topic tonight. I wanted to share this incident because I was writing about it. I wanted to reinforce the importance of knowing your exits. That's one of the primary things you should always know anywhere you go. Shion Joe says he's getting addicted to my videos. Well, that's a good thing to be addicted to. I appreciate that. You know, I really am trying to get more information out to people. And I appreciate everybody that shares, likes, comments, and helps me get this message out to people. You're welcome, Andy. You know, again, I try to provide good information to people, but it also is my business. So the more people I can get out and help, and the more people that know about my classes, you know, that helps the business as well. The book will be selling hopefully by Christmas, if all goes well. And, you know, these videos are helping sell that book and let people know about it as well. But I'm all about helping people live safe, enjoy life safely. And if I can support my family doing that, it's a win-win all the way around. So I'm going to say goodnight. I want to get some dinner here pretty quick, and then I got to get ready to go teach Hop Keto tonight. But I appreciate everybody, appreciate the comments. And again, this is Go Live every day in August. It's part of Lou's program. I'm going to share this to his Facebook group, the Go Live every day in August Facebook. And I'm going to say thank you to Lou for that challenge, which made me get on here every day this month so far. And I'm going to keep doing it every day this month. So we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone.